That's another good point.
The voices.
Sometimes the voices are right.
Yeah.
You gotta listen to all of them and weed out the weak voices.
Well, this brings you right back to Rabbit Troop Sucks. Did you listen to the voices? Did the voices bring you here, Mike?
The weak voices of Rabbit Troop Sucks.
I hope the weak voices were not from us. The strong voices were so strong. You heard the echoes from such a distance. It brought you here.
Gotta use my strong voice.
Do you work out your voice?
My little voice is too weak.
Do people grab onto your strong voice, Mike?
Yeah.
I knew it. Well, welcome back to Rabbit Troop Sucks. Hi. As always, I'm Paul, and next to me is Mike.
Hi.
And there's Lamar.
Hi.
And there's Collin.
Hey.
And there's, turtles. And
Turtle toes.
starfish.
Chocolate starfish.
That doesn't sound right. But it could be. Mm-hmm. Maybe. Mm-hmm. Hey, welcome back. We're a podcast about obscure, forgotten about, and often overlooked films. And let me note a couple things. One, welcome to summer. Hey, it just started summer, and I hope you're doing cool summer things. And because the seasons have changed, we are now telling you that every month, or I shouldn't say every month, every seasonal change, we are going to do a Joe Dante film. And I think we said that last episode, that we will cover. We already did one for spring, which was Small Soldiers. Today we are doing The Burbs from 1989, and we'll do one for the fall and the winter. So Joe Dante, clearly we're all big fans of this guy. I mean, how could you not be, honestly? If you like any 80s films, and you just don't like any Joe Dante film, I could see you not liking every Joe Dante film, but if you don't like any Joe Dante film, what are you doing?
Yeah, you can go down the list and at least pick one or two.
Yeah,
Some of them are iconic. I mean, you can't skip over some of them. I won't spoil it, but if you look at his catalog of movies he directed, written, you'll pick one.
It's the year of the Dante. Let's get you into that. So today, 1989, The Burbs. An overstressed suburbanite and his neighbors are convinced that the new family on the block is part of a murderous satanic cult. I love this movie. I felt there was sometimes when, off air, we bring up some movies and we're like, maybe we should do this. There's some back and forth where someone's like, I like it, or maybe, or whatever. I know Collin had not seen this film, but between me, Lamar, and Mike, I don't feel there was any tension of anyone being like, let's not do this film.
Nah.
No, not at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun.
So something I'm going to note from the get-go, and I did a little research, and I never knew this, and I talked to all these guys before we started recording, and I said pretty much verbatim, I'm going to bring this up again. I love Joe Dante. I love his films, as Lamar noted. I mean, at least a few of them are so iconic, and we'll talk about that through this film and other films we do all this year. Year of the Dante. I just felt something is different in this film. And I don't mean different bad. There's a different pace, there's a different flow, a little bit of the dialogue is way different. I mean, you compare this to our last seen film with Joe Dante with Small Soldiers, it's just not kind of the same back and forth with some of the characters, the actors, the players, however you want to describe this, because this is very close to a play performance as well. This movie only takes place on one cul-de-sac, so the world is kind of small. In other films, they're a bit bigger, but that's not really what I mean. And then I read there was a writer's strike, and the deal of the writer's strike was this, that the movie could be made, and it had the green light, but they couldn't make any edits on the dialogue. The writers themselves, you wanted a newly written part, that's just not happening. I'm sure Joe Dante could put his influence or put some written things there. I'm just making that as a guess speculation. But from what I read was a lot of improv was taking place. Joe Dante's you could improv your lines, you could say whatever you want, because that doesn't require a writer. And no one was sneaking around. Even the head writer was on the set, which I read. So everything seemed by the books. But that fact that people were doing improv lines, as soon as I read that, it totally made sense. I was like, that's it. That's the difference of this film and other films. And then I said this to all these guys beforehand, just to say, you might want to pay attention to this, because I really did. As I rewatched this with everyone in the room, I thought, wow, some of these lines are clearly just made up on the spot. What did you guys think about all that for this film?
I have to 100% agree with you. And when you told us that before I started watching it, I was looking out for it. I kind of subconsciously wanted to not look out for it. Just wanted to just naturally have the movie just come to me. But there's no way I could avoid just watching for it. And I think it added to the movie. Obviously, Tom Hanks is a professional at this. His off-the-cuff remarks could just easily flow out of his mouth. But I think the chemistry of the characters really worked with the off-the-script remarks in this movie. So I noticed, and it worked.
So the last time we saw Tom Hanks, it was me, Collin, and Mike, and we watched Volunteers. And I know this is like a weird remark. I miss this Tom Hanks. And I don't mean that like he went away forever and I don't see him and now he's some kind of jerk. It's just like Tom Hanks is an older man and much different. But this Tom Hanks, like this young weirdo Tom Hanks, and there's a couple other movies I've noted off air that I would love to do with him. Collin, what do you think? Because that was your introduction to Volunteers. It's your introduction to this movie. And I just feel like everyone looks at Tom Hanks as much more of like a serious actor now, like Forrest Gump or Castaway, or like these like awesome roles, but like not this kind of like somewhat goofball. Like what do you think about this, Collin?
So the only film that I saw him as kind of this goofball guy was The Money Pit, which sounds like Lamar really, really likes.
We could totally do that movie.
Yeah. But for me, it wasn't really until we watched The Volunteers that I kind of felt like I could get into Tom Hanks as a goofy character, just because I only really ever knew him as, the Castaway or Forrest Gump kind of actor. So it's kind of refreshing, actually, to get a different perspective of him that I hadn't really had before. So
my first real interaction with Tom Hanks, Splash. And so you totally see this Tom Hanks, and in a more romantic role too. So I would totally do Splash in a heartbeat. And then, as life goes on, Tom Hanks takes all these different roles. And again, like amazing, well-deserved, award-winning roles, etc. But I really just miss this guy. I miss this guy kind of goofing around. It seems like that might be his more personality in real life now, and now just people are not casting him in that role. I've just seen things online. He seems like a really nice guy. I've seen him like really light pranks he's pulled, and I mean that like kind of lovingly.
David S. Pumpkins.
David S. Pumpkins on Saturday Night Live. I feel that's the closest you get to this Tom Hanks, and like I think that's why people love it. Like Mike, you pinpointed a character that people are like, it's Field of Dreams. It's gonna remind me of a time of old, and I'll pay money to go see it. And that's Tom Hanks. Like, damn it, David S. Pumpkins. I love David S. Pumpkins.
More of that, please.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So Joe Dante, clearly we've explored before. We're going to explore more in the Year of Dante. And yeah, I mean, we get a lot of fun things. What do we get? Our writer, Dana Olson, also was writing screenplays for, I cannot even read my own handwriting, Memoirs of an Invisible Man, which I totally forgot. George of the Jungle and Inspector Gadget.
The Brendan Fraser, George of the
Yeah.
Jungle. Okay.
I mean, that'd be fun. I mean, if you were the screenwriter for all that, that'd have to be a blast.
Yeah,
I mean, the execution of those films, we could maybe talk on the side, but just writing the screenplay for George of the Jungle, that'd have to be awesome. I'll do that.
I guess that'd be a good time.
Right. Like, do that and turn it in. Like, yes. And I'll drive far away with this check, with this cash that I've checked. You get Tom Hanks clearly in this movie playing Ray Peterson. Bruce Dern. Holy shit. I had flashbacks as we were watching this movie. I actually said one of the lines to all these guys before Bruce Dern said it, because it just like came to me again. I was like, oh my God, what is such a good line. Everything Bruce Dern says in this movie, I don't know why, it makes me laugh hysterically. Bruce Dern comes off as this very like gruff man. Maybe in real life, he seems like such a sweet dude. He's an awesome actor. But in this movie, he's, ex-military. He says he's like this weird military guy on the block that, dresses up in the fatigues and goes on the rooftops with scopes and rifles. And maybe this is a little too overkill. He's clearly investing a lot of money in technology, like these hand radios and various other things. It took me forever. I think the first time I saw this movie, I was like, I did not know Bruce Dern was the father of Laura Dern, Jurassic Park. How do you guys like Bruce Dern in this movie?
He's great.
Loved him, and his character seems a little weird and out of place for the suburbs, but it kind of works.
Yeah, like he's way too efficient on what's going on, sort of, and then it just falls apart.
Well, he's a Vietnam vet. He's got his trophy wife and his pension.
Yeah,
He's just living his best life out there.
We'll talk about his wife here in a second. Also notable, which I did not know was this person until we started doing this film. Or the next on the list. This is actually really sad for me because you guys will have to pitch in over the years, or as always, reach out to us at our email or social media if you're listening to this. So our next cast member is Carrie Fisher. Died in 2016 at the age of 60. And the reason I'm a little more sad about this, I don't really feel we're probably ever going to do a Star Wars film. And with that said, I don't know if we'll ever really visit Carrie Fisher again in a movie. Like, can anyone think of another Carrie Fisher movie outside of Star Wars? Like Blues Brothers, which maybe we'll do.
I don't think that would be very fun to talk about.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I mean, Blues Brothers is a movie you just got to watch.
We do have another Blues Brothers alum in this movie, though.
The Nazi.
Yeah.
Yeah, we totally do. The Doctor. So that's kind of sad. Like I know like a lot of cast members and actors and crew members and staff, etc., that we'll talk about over podcasting years have passed away. But it's really just been like, oh man, Carrie Fisher is awesome. I mean, yeah, she is Princess Leia. I don't know if we'll visit her again. Kind of sucks. But she's in it, and she plays a fun role. Corey Feldman, Ricky Butler, probably one of my favorite characters in this film. I'm going to liken this character to Collin. This would be Collin's character, and I'm all about it. Like, this isn't a weird diss. Like, this is the crew I want to join, run by Ricky Butler, who I'm going to assume is Collin in this. Another cast member who passed away, Rick Ducommun, who plays Art. He's amazing. He's in so many things. He's in Groundhog Day. He's in Spaceballs. He's in Scary Movie, which I forgot about until I wrote that down. Wendy Schaal plays Bonnie. She's married to Bruce Dern's character, Mark Rumsfield. She's Bonnie Rumsfield. She is the voice of Francine in American Dad. I did not know that. Lamar, I know I said this. Did you know that ahead of time?
I saw not really, but I saw the name Schaal, and I'm like, oh my, I knew she did some acting work. I totally forgot she was in this movie.
Yeah, the trivia I read was Seth MacFarlane, who is the creator of Family Guy and American Dad, hired her as a voice actress to play the wife Francine in American Dad, still an ongoing show after, like a decade and a half. Crazy. And the trivia was, she said she credits this role to partially getting hired because it was revealed that Seth MacFarlane was a huge fan of the Burbs, and that might have played into this, which is awesome. That's super cool.
The characters are very, very similar.
Yeah, I wonder how much he based Francine off of Bonnie's character. Same dress in some of these scenes too, and hairstyle. It's kind of insane.
Yeah, totally. Henry Gibson is Dr. Werner, a Klopek that we meet at the end, and he is also from the Blues Brothers. Yes, he plays the Nazi boss in the Blues Brothers. He is also in Inner Space, another Joe Dante film. There's other people involved as well. I do want to give a shout out. We forgot to give this guy credit before. Robert Picardo is in this film. He is in Star Trek Voyager. He was also in Small Soldiers. I don't think we mentioned that last time, but they must all be friends. And Dick Miller, he plays the garbage man, which I noted before. Up until Small Soldiers, he was in every Joe Dante film, I think, until his passing. Yeah, he plays the other garbage man, always has cool roles. So yeah, I mean, you get a lot of familiar cast and crew. Clearly, as I noted before, everyone must be loving working with Joe Dante. It's another reason I really push that, sometimes it's hard to be like, I want to do a theme, and then in a month, I also like Halloween, doing horror films, but you do, let's say, every Star Wars film. If a listener doesn't want to listen because they're not a Star Wars fan, that's a whole month killed out. But Joe Dante, I feel, we could spread out. We could do it a month because the movies are different. But I just feel his notoriety is clear to us as kids who grew into men who still love this and show it to their kids and move on. Joe Dante is still making films, and still inspiring so many filmmakers out there. So I just think that's awesome. So yeah, I just look forward to going through this. And as noted, like it always just seems like everyone is having a good time on the set. I think that was kind of my final takeaway with Small Soldiers. It was not my favorite of the Joe Dante films, and we compared it to Gremlins a lot, and I thought Gremlins, edged it out. But I said, everyone clearly just had a good time. And it just seems like this is clearly the case on this set.
I'm glad he has his own little crew that he likes to work with, and I'm glad he brings them back over because he brings some of the magic back from his previous films of this crew that he works with. I get the watching Small Soldiers, I can feel like some of the crew, like the influence from it, and just the way the lines are delivered, and just the atmosphere. You can tell you're watching a Joe Dante movie based off some of the dialogue, way scenes are filmed, and just kind of the atmosphere.
Yeah, so going back to that dialogue idea, if I had to really pinpoint, because I clearly have no idea how many people were doing or how many lines were improvised, etc., versus the script that they were given, I have to feel the character Art, Ducommun, the last name of the guy. I have to feel most of his lines are improv. Like I know for a fact in trivia, like I know one of his lines, which is my favorite line of this entire film. But beyond that, that guy seems to just be like saying weird stuff all the time and just like walking off.
Yeah, I definitely got the impression that most of the improv was coming from him.
Like maybe 80% of the improv. I feel like, he's a wild character. Yeah. Oh, that too. He's really wild and out there.
Yeah, and if Corey actually had a script, I'd be surprised.
Ricky Butler. Collin, how do you feel that I associated with Ricky Butler?
I was fine with it because at some point I was definitely going to say that even though he had a small role, he was definitely my favorite.
Yeah. Bruce Dern, for like whatever reason, like his gruff looks versus his kind of fall down appearance, that really works for me. So Bruce Dern is my absolute favorite, and he's clearly more of a main character. But Ricky Butler is the dude I want to party with, and so I really do mean it as Collin as a compliment. So basically, what happens from the get-go is we find out Ray, Tom Hanks, is going to be on vacation for a week. I'm assuming this is Memorial Day or 4th of July. Like, it seems implied that this is warm weather. It's probably over the summer.
I think it is a reference that it is Memorial Day.
There's
a reference to, there's a joke that's like, what's the next national holiday after Valentine's Day or after, turned out to be a Jeopardy joke, but I think it was a reference to what it actually was, and I think it is Memorial Day.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So
if it was 4th of July, they would have said something.
I would have thought, or I was going to suggest that like it's just kind of like use your imagination.
There you
go.
It's
It's blank summer. Like, dear audience member, it's blank summer.
That's a good point. I love when they do that.
Well, this whole thing is organized like a play. Like, if The Burbs was a play performed at the DCPA, like, this is very possible. You get 5 to 6 people in a crew, and you need basically 2 to 3 set pieces that are interchangeable. Like, this could be easily done.
Right. Inside of Art's house, the outside, and the Klopeks house.
Yeah, and mainly just outside. Like, you just get outside as like the bigger component and have like sliding like backgrounds to do houses. Like, I'm imagining all this, like you could see it at almost the round at the DCPA if it was even smaller. But yeah, and that's kind of what I also meant. Like, there's something different about this. That could have been the writer's strike as well, like a smaller set. I don't mean, again, any of this as a diss. Like, all of this works for me. But yeah, so you get this this backdrop that Tom Hanks is going to be on vacation. Carol, his wife, who is Princess Leia herself, she's like, "Hey, let's go to the lake." And when Princess Leia says go to the lake, go to the GD Lake. Goddamn.
I would.
So with this, he's like, "No, I just want to hang around, listen to the baseball game, do stuff." She's like, "You do this all the time. You're going to get stressed out." He's like, "No, I want to listen to the game, get 100 beers deep into this, and that's going to be my vacation."
There you go. How can you argue with that?
I'd rather do that than go.
Yeah, I mean,
he says, he's like, "I don't want to be in gridlock traffic. I don't want to deal with obnoxious neighbors. Like, that's going to stress me out a lot more." I get it as well. But she's really concerned about her son, which I also get. She's like, hey, like, we have a kid and he should probably do stuff and you're going to be like sitting in a lawn chair.
He doesn't give a shit about that kid.
And that kid
That's abundantly
in this
clear.
movie.
Yeah, that kid is a total afterthought. And I think my only complaint about the film, I actually have this in my notes. My only complaint would be I think that kid should be deleted. I don't think they should have had a child.
Yes.
It wouldn't have changed.
It
the
doesn't
movie
add.
at all.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, there's only one point that they try to ramp up like the kid's views for the father, and they never really like at the end bring it full circle like he changed his mind, which will come up kind of soon. So the new neighbors move in, and it sounds weird, the sounds weird of the moving in, and Tom Hanks goes to explore, like, what's going on. It's the middle of the night. I do love seeing in the shadows Bruce Dern and just like him in a cigar or a cigarette. God damn it, Bruce Dern, I love you. And yeah, the Klopeks have moved in, a bunch of weirdos. Some questions I have is, why does that house look like absolute garbage now? I mean, I know it's supposed to be like unkempt, so you imagine like the garden and the grass is dead. The wood is aged, like it looks like a ghost town. Like it looks like the planks that you would find in the remnants of a forgotten town in a video game. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with that. I mean, I like the gag when he crosses like the property boundary, and it starts being windy and like lightning strikes. That works. But yeah, I mean, the previous neighbors haven't been gone for that long, and presumably they had a nicer looking place than this. So I don't know why it's all unkempt.
Yeah, and the neighbors are weirded out about all this too. Like there's a lot of whispers and a lot of gossip.
Like what happened to the whatever their names are.
Yeah, and this kind of weird. Like I'm so far removed from the idea of like living in suburbia. None of us, really live in suburbia like to the extent of what this movie would be. Even if you're in Colorado, like a lot of the suburbia wouldn't be this. But this is like very 80s. I mean, this is very on brand. This is the message of Edward Scissorhands. Like, you get a group of people who have, some freedom, boredom, a little expendable cash, and nothing to do but gossip. Like, this is what you drum up. Like, a bunch of neighbors are a bunch of satanic psychos. Well, we'll see how that unfolds in The Burbs, 1989. Joe Dante directed. We're introduced to the character Art pretty quickly. He has a rifle and a scope, and he's hunting a crow.
As one does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he falls down and shoots a window, and then he is in the lawn or backyard or front yard, I don't remember, of Carol and Ray, and he immediately invites himself in.
He's got, you guys having breakfast?
Yeah, so what he eats is insane. He eats a stack of pancakes, sausages, then he goes to the refrigerator. He helps himself to leftover barbecued ribs.
He puts back an empty bottle of syrup.
Yeah, that's what Collin and I know. Colin's like, oh no. And I was like, yep, I just saw it. Yeah, he finishes all the syrup, puts that back in, finishes Ray's eggs, and he has something else.
He grabs a handful of dog food.
What? Oh, gross.
No, it was like leftover ribs or something.
No. This is the first time I noticed that Carrie Fisher's walking by with a dish and he just grabs a handful of it and then she puts it on the floor and gives it to the dog.
Oh, I thit was like fruit or something, but yeah, you're probably right. That's awful.
Oh, and a pineapple. Yeah, it was a full pineapple.
Yeah. Do you think he had a coring tool for that? Or
it's crazy because, we're watching the movie and my wife was doing other things. I was like, if you see Collin, talk to him. He bought a pineapple core. And my wife was
totally worth it.
Yeah, totally nodding because we had a whole conversation. We're like, what are you going to do with this? So this is just going to be another gadget we use once. We find so many pineapples. Now I feel like Art just inviting myself to someone's house for pineapples. When's the last time any of you have had a breakfast at someone's house? No, not your own house. Like you went to someone's house.
Dear Lord.
Yeah, it's kind of an intimate experience.
Wow.
Boom.
Yeah.
Just have to think about that one.
I mean, we had mimosas for Mother's Day here. That was like the closest.
What?
But no one's like having eggs and scramby eggs.
The problem with that is you got to wake up and go to someone else's house at like early in the morning.
Honestly, last time was probably like a holiday going to some family member's house for some gross breakfast that I didn't want to eat.
Yeah.
I made you some decaf coffee, Mike. Hope that helped you. Hope your mother got you some nice tapes to play.
Uncle Carmine, is that you? Are you here?
Hey.
How's the gabagool? Is that
gabagool? It's not proper. Send it back. I will send this back. The son David, who is an afterthought in this movie, does say he does know a little about the Klopeks because Art is kind of drumming up some gossip, and David's like, actually, there are 3 of them, and I saw them, and everyone's like, what? He's like, yeah, I looked out my window. They're just digging in the backyard late at night. And they're like, whoa, what? And they're like, yeah, so that's a thing. So, yeah. So as the day goes on and Art's eating more, side note, I didn't even write this down as a note, I just remembered this. After Art eats all this, Tom Hanks goes outside and Art follows him, and he's like, hey, you want to go get like a steak sandwich later? Or some kind of like massive sandwich.
Yeah, one of those Italian beefs or whatever.
Like, yeah, he was already planning.
Sounded pretty good, I would have.
I don't know, after all, that dude just ate a whole pineapple.
Yeah, didn't even care.
Yeah, didn't even care. So, we see one of the Klopeks step outside. It's Hans. Shout out to our friend Gabe. I did say he looks like him at one point in time.
I cannot separate the two now. Sorry.
Gabe was on our show.
Sorry, Gabe. Yeah.
So hopefully he hears this. Hans was in Back to the Future. I remember him because I've seen Back to the Future almost as much as I've seen Hackers. And it's one of the few movies I could almost just say, give me the timeline and I could just talk about it. Like, I don't mean that as a punny Back to the Future thing. Just tell me what happens A, B, C in the movie, and then I could tell you all the scenes. So this guy, I could just tell you he's at the Enchantment Under the Sea dance. And after the dad, punches out Biff and is dancing with the mom, the future mom, and after Marty's done at some point, or maybe during like some other songs, other people start asking the mom to dance. And this guy's like, hey, McFly, you've had your chance to dance with her. Like, it's my turn. And I always remember. And he's got that goofy kind of like overbite grin. He's like,
damn.
And Marty starts like fading out. And dad is like, no, man. And like pushes him down, like on the dance floor.
No, man.
Yeah.
He's fine.
I think he stole that guy's ball.
Yeah, you did.
And then that's like that's the absolute final resolve. That guy gets pushed down, and
all that time that was Hans, huh?
Yeah, it was Hans, and I can't think of any other role he's been. But I'm like, that's cool. Like regardless, like if I was in any role in Back to the Future, like my friend Billy Zane, it would be awesome.
He's a cool guy.
Yeah, Billy Zane is also in the other. Or I don't know if he's in the third one. He's in the second one, definitely. He's future Bully too.
Yeah.
Is he in the third?
That makes sense.
Nah, I don't think he's in the third. I think it's only Biff Tannen. I don't think they reprise any of the other bullies.
Yeah.
You mean Mad Dog Tannen?
Yeah.
I love Mad Dog.
He does have his
he's great.
thugs, but I don't think any of them are him.
Bone, Thugs in Harmony.
See you at the crossroads.
Tick-tock, get up, start of the day. Oh, good God. So it's night. It all becomes night. Ray says he's going to go take the dog for a walk. Really, he's going to go smoke the cigar that he wants to do. He meets up with Art, and Art tells this crazy story that happened in the neighborhood. He's telling this to Ricky. Ricky! I love Ricky. Like, Ricky, I think, is just walking around drinking a beer. It might be a soda. In my heart, I know it's a beer. Ricky's just walking around drinking a beer. I am led to believe that he's probably late teens, maybe 16, 17, but I'd guess like 17, 18 is what he's supposed to be. So he's just like palling around with Art, and Art's telling the story. He's like, these crazy neighbors move in. It's not unheard of. When I was a kid, there was this story, and there was this like ice cream cone jerk or soda jerk who ran the soda shop, and he just killed his family, and there's this huge stink in town, and everyone was freaking out. But, no one would kill someone back then. So, the Department of Health visited his house, and he's like, I have a sewage backup. And they're like, oh, poor guy. He's just going to tend to it and fix it. Really, it turned out to be dead bodies. He then lit the house on fire. He was a maniac. This guy stabbed everyone. No one knew it. And the town just turned a blind eye. Like, they just didn't think that could happen. I totally dig the message of this movie, even though it's like a dark satire and more comedy than anything else. But yeah, like I totally like this idea that still today I would argue that there's pockets of suburbia that if something happened, people would just be like, don't talk about it, don't do any of these things. I did see residents near the Purina plant are totally suing because they're like, you could fix some of this and you're not, and other plants that do this have these problems solved and you need to invest. And because of that, my house and property value have plummeted. So do that. So we'll see how that goes, Colorado. But
Probably not well.
Probably not well. But yeah, I mean, I think that's the message, as I said, too, in Edward Scissorhands. Like, people turn a blind eye. This can never happen. But, of course, things can happen, as we find out in this film and in reality. Boom.
Suburb life, it'll drive you crazy. Which is the ultimate message, but we'll get there.
Seems boring.
Did you guys have any rumors as kids about your neighborhoods? Like, when we were kids, there was a rumor that there was, like, an axe murderer in the, like, you know, the neighborhood right across the big street.
Yeah.
And I guess it happened, but it was, like, in the 80s, so it didn't really matter to us. But do you guys have anything like that?
I didn't.
No. I mean, growing up, my closest neighbor was like 5 miles away, so we didn't really have a lot of neighborhood vibe.
Well, it's never too late to start, I guess.
Yeah, like, I would have to consult with Jeremy, as I said. Like, I've known him the longest, but, I mean, we didn't live too far from one another. Nothing by me when I lived there. When I was growing up in Illinois, I don't remember any stories like this.
I moved around a lot when I was younger, but there was one block that I moved here in Denver, and we lived there for maybe 2 years. There was a house on the corner that was abandoned. It was a big house, not mansion-esque, but it was huge. It sat on the corner, uninhabited for years, and we as kids, we must have been maybe 8, 9, 10 years old. And us in neighborhood kids, we always made stories about, I wonder who lives there, old man or something, because we always hear stories or hear sounds coming from the house. One night, a light turns on in the house for the first time in months and months, and we're all freaking out. We're going to go in there and we're going to check it out one night. And so it's like 6 of us, and we're all kids. We finally break into the front door of the house. We're going to see what's going on. And turns out the house just had electrical problems. Lights come on every now and then. It freaked us out for months and months. But our parents just came in like, don't go in that house. It has electrical issues and blah, 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 asbestos and all that. And so it's like, it's a cool little story, but the house was just dilapidated and unkept. I
mean, as we always read, especially if you are listening to this outside of Colorado, our real estate is just bananas.
Yes.
They keep thinking it's going to go down. It's going to go down. It's never going to go down. We're one of the most expensive, areas to live in the country. So if you're out of the United States, parts of Colorado, Denver and Boulder are some of the highest real estate in the United States of America. Lamar and I were living on the same street on multiple occasions, and there was this place, it was like this huge house that was across from one of our apartment complexes. And Lamar, I hope you remember what I'm talking about. So I was talking to an apartment manager, not ours, but like, funny enough, the next door apartment manager. And I said something about this house. I'm like, oh my God, this house is just ginormous, and it seems like no one's there, and it's a little run down up front. And the woman's like, I met the owner once, and here's the crazy story. So there is a carriage house out back, which is this, like a small apartment, and they rent that out, and basically in exchange for someone living there, that person, keeps up, the grass, the weeds, maintenance of the house, various other things, because the guy who owns it got divorced, and I'm trying to think of what the prenuptials. The prenuptials highlighted that he would have to give anything to his wife or half of whatever. He's like, I will have this place like burned to the ground before this person gets a dime of this, and basically just refused to sell it out of spite. And that was it. Just didn't want his ex-wife to get any amount of money. I have to assume, since all that person sold it, this house would probably go for, I would say, at least, like in prime condition, $1.5 to $2 million easily. I mean, this would be like a 6-bedroom, 4-bathroom plus carriage house and backyard house. But that guy just refused to sell it. How insane is that? Just like I don't care about money as long as that person doesn't get it.
You left it empty for years too. It was ridiculous.
I've been saying it the whole time. You can take it all with you to the grave. And that guy's proven my point. He's building a hole and taking it with him to the grave.
Man.
Yeah, there's one other thing I wanted to say about this movie before we get really to what's going on. I have a really fond memory of this movie, and I totally forgot about it until we started watching it today. So when I was a kid, before everything was streaming on a laptop and I needed one device or my phone, I had eventually a TV in my bedroom. And I did not grow up this way. Like I was 13 or 14 maybe when I got a TV. This was not something I normally had. And I eventually got a VCR for it. And
Big time.
yeah, it was awesome. And once I got that VCR, like my parents let me go to, I would assume like Blockbuster or the equivalent. And for that weekend, I rented like I think like 3 movies, and I had them for the entire weekend. And so I just kept rewatching these films. I mean, like this was brand new. Like it was dark, it was light. I'm like watching movies. Like who cares? We owned movies. I'm watching those. The ones we rented, I threw in the mix. I can't remember all 3 movies. I know it was more than 2, but I know for a fact The Burbs was one, and Funny Farm with Chevy Chase was one of the others. And I was just like mainlining that as like a early teen. So yeah, like I do have a lot of fun with this movie. But yeah, it's night. They're checking this family out. Everything smells like garbage. We get to hear the Skip story. Skip, the soda jerk who killed everyone. Now Ray goes home and he's playing Jeopardy with Carol. But Ricky, I'll get to him in a second. Sorry, they're playing Jeopardy and Art comes in. He's like, we got to go outside and inspect things. Ricky invites a date over, and this starts setting a precedent for what is happening with Ricky next door. Another reason I like likening this to Collin. He's really building this social presence of what's going on. So Ricky invites a date over. She's like, aren't we going to the movies or dinner? He's like, that's dumb. He's like, we could do that anytime. And he's like, at the same time every day, these same people come out. So he's like introducing, like a play performance, he's the narrator, who these characters or who these players are. So Tom Hanks comes out, he's like, this is Ray. He's the skeptic, but he really wants to believe. And then Art's there. He's like, this is the guy who's kind of batshit insane, and he's really amping all of them up. They think these neighbors are part of a satanic cult. And the girl's like, that's cool. Yeah, and so like this starts growing. I just think the background of Ricky Butler is genius. I love everything that's happening here. The culmination of this is really good, like a party at the end. And that's why I said, Collin, I could see you being like, I've just been like going outside. Like this is, I feel how Collin would, this would come to be. Collin's like, every day I check my mail and I realize my neighbors are effing insane. And I've started sitting on my porch at night and they are insane. So I started inviting people over and they bring drinks, we order pizzas, and it's great. I want to be a part of that. That's fantastic. Mike, you've seen me with binoculars.
I have, yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is a party I would go to, for sure.
We'll talk after.
Yeah, okay.
I want to do that.
Yeah.
And Paul, were you also the one smoking the cigar in the top of the house, look out the window at the dead of night?
Like Bruce Dern.
Like Bruce Dern.
Yeah.
Just went one light in the
It's kind of funny because, you know, a little later in the film, Tom Hanks tries the same approach. Like he's watching these people dig in the backyard. I was like, why didn't you shut off the light, dude? Like, you look at these people in the shadows.
They can see you all the time.
Right, like you're like you were like blocking out the light. Like you're now noticeable. You're like the bat signal, like right in their face. Like, so what's going on there?
Well, if you're Bruce Dern, you want that silhouette to be very prominent.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah. Is this where they see him, the late night garbage can run in the car? Okay.
Yeah, Hans comes out.
Yeah, I like this move. I'm going to start doing this. I got kind of a long driveway.
I got a 2-pronged plan for you in this move.
Okay.
This could involve the rest of Rapid Troop Sucks. So, Mike, explain what happens, and I'll tell you how RTS could then step in and help you with this.
I'm excited about this. Okay. Yeah, so Hans, he's got to bring some garbage bags down to the cans by the side of the road.
Which is like 10 feet down?
Yeah, it's 10, 15 feet. He drives the family vehicle down rather than carrying the bags. It takes a couple huge bags, I think it's 2 bags, and just jams them into the trash cans. And I think he's got like a pickaxe or a shovel.
It's like an industrial metal hoe.
Yeah, big hoe.
It's plunging hoe.
And an industrial hoe. And he's just cramming it in this trash can. And then he drives the car back. And I like this because my trash cans are pretty far away.
So my second stage is
how are you going to help me?
Do that, and inevitably one day one of your neighbors is immediately going to go out and like. So in the movie, everyone's like, "We got to go check this out," and it starts raining, and they're like, "We'll do this the next day." But inevitably, Mike, if you do this, sooner or later, someone's like, "What the hell is going on?" This guy's like taking a car to take out his trash. He's smushing it in with like an industrial metal implement. someone's going to go through trash. That's when we pop out. We've always been waiting there. Like, hey, how can I help you? We turn it on your neighbors like they're the weirdos.
Okay.
Like, you can't just go through trash like that. Like, I just happen to be going by. Yeah.
Just
Boom.
egg them on and be like, oh, yeah, it's totally normal to start digging through this person's trash.
I
the
heard
way
he's a
to live your
psycho.
life.
His name was Skip. He was a soda jerk.
I think I'm the least weird person on my block, so I don't think I'd be on the receiving end of that at all.
When are you on the receiving?
That's for the special Dropbox.
Is that the Skip? Is that the Hans?
Yeah.
Happy summer, everybody, from Rabbit Troops.
Yowza.
I kind of envisioned that he was like a teenager and just excited to drive the car at any opportunity he
Right,
had.
yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Why not?
I could follow. Here's a weird thing. I could follow you on that, Collin, only because we saw an alt ending for this film, which extends that character. Like we see him being interviewed, and he's like a big old weird. And so we'll get to that too. That we saw a secondary ending to the Burbs, which is not streaming anywhere. This movie, I also read, like, has weird copyrights. Like, it just gets shifted around. It's almost always streaming somewhere. You cannot buy this movie on Apple through iTunes. You could only rent this in certain areas, and yeah, not streaming.
Wow.
We watched it on DVD.
They don't want you to own it, man.
I do own it on DVD.
I think that's probably the only way you can watch this.
Funny enough, I told Mike I bought this movie for like $4 in 2020 during the pandemic. I was watching movies on a projector. Going back to one of Collin's movies that he noted, I bought this movie for $4. It included this, Dragnet, and The Money Pit. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, for $4, let's do it. Best investment. We just watched it, DVD. And it had an alt ending, which I never knew about. Well,
Wow.
They go check the trash the next day because there is a rain delay. They think it'd be too suspicious to check out the trash. Immediately at 11 at night when that guy just took it out, the rain starts coming in. They're like, okay, we're going to check it out. And that's where we see Picardo and Dick Miller, the trashman.
I think it was more suspicious to do it the way they did.
Yeah, especially Bruce Dern coming out with a robe. He's half shaved. He's in boxer shorts. He might have combat boots. In his mind, he did. In my mind, he did. Everyone's just screaming at the trash man. Art is rolling around in garbage. Collin immediately just goes, ugh, gross, which was literally the inner monologue that was going through my head when I saw that. I saw juice in there, and I don't want to know, man.
They climb in the truck.
Yeah,
They're in
he's
it,
like rolling around in it. Yeah, whatever clothes you're wearing, you burn. You shave everything.
Well, especially, I mean, if they had found what they thought they were going to find, why would you want to be rolling around in it?
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. You know, in those like, there's you can like quote unquote wash your phones in like the UV light.
Yeah.
Can you just do that to your body? There's like a tanning bed I could get in after I got into a trash bin like this that I could just like UV my body?
I would prefer like the lasers that would just cut you in half at that point in time if I'm covered like
Are you
that.
saying it's just time to rebuild?
Yeah,
Set
they
yourself on
rebuild,
fire
reform. Let's get some literal fire
That's
going on in this.
Everyone gets new robot eyes. Like we're better.
Out with the old.
Well, this is a garbage mess. I like the garbage man. They're like, who the hell's going to clean this up?
Yeah.
And they're like, you. Bruce Dern's like, you are.
You're
Like,
the
what-
garbage man.
Yeah, what the hell? There's also another guy on the block. His name's Walter. We kind of barely see him. He's kind of persnickety, and he's got a little foo-foo dog who takes shits on everyone else's
Queenie.
yard. Yeah, Queenie. I love Bruce Dern is so angry because there's like a chemical treatment lawn service that comes. He's like, the guy's got the best goddamn lawn in the neighborhood or the cul-de-sac. Why? Because his dog's taking shits on everyone else's yard. And Walter is aware of this. The dog goes to the bathroom on Ray's yard, and Ray's like, hey, dude. And this guy ignores him, and he goes, his grass needed the fertilizer anyhow. I'm like, dude.
Colin, you made a comment about this dog. Is that true?
Yeah, this dog is super famous.
Wow. Name the other movie that this dog is
It
from.
was in Silence of the Lambs, and I
Wow.
think something else too, but I can't remember.
Yeah, it's totally recognizable as soon as you said that.
Who
yeah.
was he in Silence of the Lambs?
It was Silence. Funny
was
enough,
Silence.
trivia on that is tried out for the Lamb.
Oh,
Didn't get it.
wanted Clarice, but
Turned out to be the lotion.
had to settle for Queenie as lotion.
That was a hard audition.
Batman Returns is another movie this dog was in.
Okay.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
Okay.
She's got
wow.
she's got some chops.
Is that
Holy-
Christopher Walken's dog or whatever?
Yes.
Holy shit. This is a very popular poodle.
Yeah.
Well, that's how it works.
All right.
Poodling around town.
Well, shit. But okay, so speaking of Walter and the dog,
Yeah, Walter.
the dog runs over and takes another shit on Bruce Dern's lawn, and his wife is like, fuck, it's happening again. And they go to confront Walter, but they can't find him.
Yeah, the dog is loose. Yeah, so that's why I went back. There was this other guy, Walter, as noted. And so the dog's loose, and Bonnie, who is Mark Rumsfield?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Feld or Field, whatever.
Bruce Dern's wife is like, "Oh my God, poor little sweetie, you're so dirty. What's going on?" And they go to Walter's, and Walter is not there. There is a chair that's kind of upside down. The TV's
They
on.
break into his house.
They totally break in.
Yeah.
The TV's on, and there is a wig in the corner that freaks Bonnie out. She's like, "Oh my God, I think it's a rat." But they're like, he wouldn't go anywhere without his toupee. That's weird. The TV's on. That's weird. So Ray writes him a note. Eventually, he writes a couple notes, trashes them. He's like, "Okay, I've got your dog, Ray." And
He settled on the worst revision of that note.
And he takes the toupee, he puts it in the mail, and he puts that note there, and they leave, essentially. And then they see another Klopek. But he just goes in.
Yeah, that Klopek doesn't want to talk to anybody.
Well, the only reason I should bring that up and explain a little more is this Klopek, who turns out to be Reuben Klopek, sees Tom Hanks put the note in the mail slot. So he's like, this guy's putting notes in mail slots. He's like, "Mr. Klopek, I want to talk to you." And the guy goes, just walks off. But that's kind of it.
I could go for a Reuben right now.
What kind of Reuben? Like, what do you want on it?
Just Reuben stuff. Thousand Island dressing, rye bread.
Just the standards.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nothing fancy.
We could probably order it. I said we could go to Bolorama when we were done recording. It's not gonna be
Couple
too late.
beers.
A couple beers. We'll talk about it.
I'm in.
Beers and Reubens.
Do they have Reubens at Bolorama?
Probably.
Fuck yeah.
Do you want to eat one at Bolorama?
Yeah?
Comes out of a vending machine.
Oh, yeah.
Vending
Wrapped
machine
in-
Reuben.
Wrapped in a condom.
I'll grab you some sushi while we're there.
It's wet.
It's all wet in the vending machine.
Oh, man.
It's like the Don's vending machine. It's like a condom and a cigarette and a pack of Mentos or whatever.
Yeah, it's terrible.
And like a microwave dinner.
A Dinty Moore meal.
Well, going back to the movie, Ray is kind of mentally cracking, and Carol predicted this from the beginning. Like, you're just going to sit and stew, and now he's got this weird project, and it's, hey, your neighbors are probably in a satanic cult. And this is proven more that he's cracking because all of a sudden that Art comes over and brings a book on demonology.
He's got like a fucking ancient tome.
Yeah,
from
like this
somewhere.
thing is like encased in red leather. I mean, there's like wear to it.
Pretty good.
But also, like, Ray is like locked the basement door. Carol's knocking, like, David wants to go to the lake or whatever. And like, he's like, no.
Like, fuck our son in that stupid lake.
Yeah, so they're looking through a book of demonology. And he's like, this is what these people do. They just move into neighborhoods. And Ray tries to become more conscious of what's happening. And he's like, I'm not listening to you, man. Like, this is too much. They're not in a satanic cult. So Ray just starts like a child, mumbling like, I'm not going to listen to you. And all of a sudden, Art turns around and delivers my favorite lines of this entire film. He's like, listen, man. You're already chanting. Oh my God, they've already gotten to your head. And as Ray's saying, like, I'm not going to listen to you. Art changes it too. Again, my favorite line. I'm gonna kill everyone. Satan is good. Satan is our pal.
Brilliant stuff.
And I read that was one of the improv lines. That is amazing. This is said later on and quickly. He is asked to leave. He's like, get out of my house. Like, I've got to think about this. And basically, Carol's really pissed off about this. She's like, I'm going to go to the lake. Like, you've really ramped this up. This is ridiculous. Went from everything's going to be okay. You're going to listen to the ball game, have some beers, to now satanic cults and craziness. That night, he has a terrible dream, that is Ray, where he is walking down some steps, a chainsaw comes through the wall. He's ripped out, thrown on a large grill. Skip, the killer soda jerk, pops out. But don't worry, it's, just Art pretending. And you hear the satanic cult in the background go, I'm gonna kill everyone. And they're chanting that as they're trying to roast him. And then he is stabbed by one of the Klopeks and he wakes up. So, good morning. It's Ray. Mm-hmm. And he's watching Mr. Rogers. And clearly the theme is brought back by the Won't You Be My Neighbor song. Because it is Won't You Be My Neighbor. And in the alt ending, this song is brought back up again, trying to tie it back that, won't you be my neighbor? The one thing I also want to note where we really fizzle out, I don't even know where this was, the son does see Ray and Art try to ring the doorbell of the Klopeks, and a bunch of bees come out. And the son looks at, David, the son looks at Ray in shame, shakes his head like, oh my God, my dad's a goof. Because Ricky's there, Ricky's older, Ricky's cool. And he's like, oh my God, these guys are idiots, but they're so funny. And David's like, ugh. And that's pretty much the last time we see David. Like, the son's pretty much not in it outside of David wants to go to the lake. I'm going to the lake. David, lake.
Yes.
David's still at that lake.
He can stay there.
She drove David to the lake and he became the lake.
It was like he was an afterthought. Just added on to this movie.
Maybe it was like they wrote him in and they realized it kind of sucked.
Yes.
But they couldn't write him out of it because of the writer's strike.
Yeah.
And there was no amount of improv that could get rid of that.
They sabotaged himself with a character.
Yeah, like no diss to the kid or
Kind of,
anything.
yeah.
It's just like he is totally pointless in this outside of like David should go to the lake and you should be a good influence. And they totally forget about him. When this movie is like, there's redemption at the end, it should have been like the son was like, I believe in you, Dad. Like, not that cheesy, but that, like, I don't even know where the son is at the end.
Yeah.
No, he's nowhere.
Right.
I kind of wonder if like maybe the son and Ricky were the same character in some earlier iteration of the script, and they kind of decided that some of those lines would be better off as like a separate character. Because Ricky is kind of unexplained too, is like a older teenager who just owns his own house, who paints it.
Yeah,
kinda.
I was gonna say with painting it because later, I was gonna say Laura Dern, Bruce Dern is like, paint your house, Ricky. Like, is that his job? Like,
I think he mentions at one point that it's his parents' house.
Does
Yeah.
he?
Maybe they're just gone.
But he's like taking all the stereo equipment out and putting it out front.
Yeah, he's doing
Yeah.
a terrible job. He's gonna get yelled at.
Yeah, he's
or-
not great at doing anything. Painting.
Yeah.
All the kids are just an afterthought in this movie.
Yeah.
And you really don't need them at all, except Ricky,
You
who's
need-
clearly the spectator,
Yeah.
who's filling in for the audience, which is cool.
This is the play. He's the chorus. for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
There you go.
One of my next favorite scenes comes up here where Carol clearly is at her wit's end and she just shuts this shit down. And
Like, can he come out to play?
yeah,
I like this.
Art and Bruce Dern walk up like kids, like, and Ray is on the rooftop. He's like, I can't come out, guys. Like, I can't come out. He's trying to like do like hand motions, and Carol's like, get out of here, guys. Like, he needs to rest. It's like, oh, come on. And they're like pretending like to kick the dirt. Like,
I love that part.
come on, like, can't he come out? She's
Just
like, no.
sulking away.
Like, come on, Carol, it'd be nice. Like, no, not until he resembles like the man I married.
It's gonna be a long time.
We don't have that kind of
Yeah,
time.
right.
That's it. Yeah. And Art goes, we don't have that kind of time.
Good stuff.
Yeah, so they basically just go wandering off, and that's kind of it. But Ray's in the back, he's chilling out, and I love this breakdown. Like, this is like mini breakdown. So Art comes in and he's like, hey, we found some things. Like, we were looking, they tried to ring the doorbell as well, and they ran, and they said they left a note. And so Ray is sitting in the backyard just trying to relax, and Art's telling him all this, and he's like, God damn it, do you see I'm trying to sleep? Do you see my eyes are closed? Do you see I'm laying here asleep, trying to goddamn sleep?
He's 4 beers deep right now.
Yeah, he's like, and then he's like crushing beer cans and throwing them. Like, I've been there. Like, I have been that tired, and I'm telling you, any person, and I don't want to just like throw out the parent card, everyone's been there, but especially every parent on earth. How about this too? Pet owners, initial pet owners. If you have not felt that tiredness, then I don't believe you are a pet owner or a parent at any point in time.
Nice calling him out.
I mean, I have felt that tired where I'm like, I just fell asleep after hours for 2 minutes, and whatever's summoning me back better be a life or death situation. It is not. It is Art and his buffoonery doing nonsensical things. He's like, oh man, me and Mark left this note over there. He's like, you left a note? That's great, dude, because that guy saw me leaving notes too. So he's going to think I left a note. what did you say? And he's like, we said, there's like accusing him of like all these terrible things. He's like, we put that in there. He's like, cool. And then they find a femur bone because Ray's dog dug it up. Not Queenie, but there's another dog in play here. There's actually 3 dogs in this movie. The Klopeks have a dog as well. And then they freak out. They're like, why is there a femur bone? And we need to investigate further. And they try.
Well, they do try. Well, the Carrie Fisher and what's her name from American Dad? Bonnie. They're like, you guys are being fucking morons. Look, we just need to pay like a nice neighborly visit, say hi and introduce ourselves. Just the 4 of us, though. Art can fuck off because no one wants to talk to him.
Yeah, that's too weird.
Yeah.
So they do. They bring some brownies over.
Cookies.
And they,
Bonnie's like, I'm going to whip up some brownies.
Yeah, and they pay a visit to the Klopeks.
I love them just going up to the door. There's a great camera sequence. It's like bird's eye view of them like walking up. It's like them gathering and Art kind of scampering off in a diagonal way. Them turning a corner and then the camera focuses more on them. Immediately Bruce Dern right through a hole in the stairwells. There go the goddamn brownies. He's so pissed off about it.
Yeah.
They ring the doorbell. It sounds like a broken chime fell through a steamboat and then is on like 4 floors down. And then Hans opens the door.
Fucking Hans. Little Pinocchio.
We're in the house. We get to meet Hans. Hans is like, hello, I am Hans. And then we get to meet Ruben, who is
Uncle
a
Ruben.
psycho killer.
Yeah.
Ruben.
Interesting hair.
Yeah, Ruben is so angry.
Yeah, Ruben doesn't want them there. And we're kind of intercut with scenes of Art, like, infiltrating the backyard or attempting to.
Yeah, Art, I think, is doing just, like, investigative work. At first, I thought he was trying to tap into maybe their phone. I don't really know what he's doing. He's just trying to... He's all over the place, really. Yeah. I mean, that's his character anyhow, so it's kind of fun. Bonnie and Carol do an amazing job. Like, they're like, Carol's totally right. Like, you guys are idiots. We could do this like 1, 2, 3. They get in the door and they are, oh man, they are like,
they're poking around.
Yeah, well, they're like cutie flirty way in their way. Like, oh, I'm just gonna look here. You want me to do this? You want me to do that? You want me like. They are so good at
Very
just like
natural.
Yeah, working the room and asking questions, and all 3 of these dudes are so dumb. So dumb.
My favorite line from this was Ray. He's so dumb and out of it. They're all trying to make small talk, just like we're neighborly, just trying to build the tension down. And Ray just there's a silence, and he's like, sure was damp today.
It was damp.
Wow.
Yeah. So they're trying to get any kind of information, and I like that Hans goes get some snacks. He's a polite host. Right.
Sardines in a bowl of pretzels.
Yeah,
the classic combo.
Bonnie says no. I'm trying to cut back. Carol takes a pretzel. That's exactly what I would do. I would probably take 1 pretzel. She, with her eyes, Jedi vibes. No pun, Jedi. Carrie Fisher.
I saw what you did there.
But she Jedi vibes Tom Hanks to eat one of the sardines.
Take the sardine, bro.
He later cough sneezes it up. It's very uncomfortable to watch Tom Hanks go through this. It's like he did a line of pepper. And then you see the reaction to this. And Bruce Dern is just saying crazy shit. First of all, he's like tearing up the wallpaper right off their house and then tries to put it back. He's blatantly just tapping on pipes left and right.
Is that Slavic?
No. Yeah, that's one of my other favorite lines. So he's like, so Klopek, what kind of last name is that? Slavic? And yeah, Ruben goes, no. He's like, 9 on the old tension scale. Hey there, Rube. Yeah, Bruce Dern is so damn good in this film. And then the other doctor comes out, or Dr. Werner comes out.
Yes.
He's some kind of doctor. We find out later he's some kind of famous pathologist. We don't know this now. He comes up. He's in a suit and gloves and an apron. He shakes Ray's hand. It could be blood. It could be pain. I don't know what's going on. He doesn't really say all too much.
No. He just apologizes.
Sorry about my gloves.
Oh, it's a dirty glove.
You saw me in Blues Brothers.
Smell the glove.
He's the cleanest out of the 3, by the way. We should note.
Yeah, he's wearing a suit. He looks pretty put together.
Well, you think he would probably want some cleanliness in this house. What is going on in this Addams family house?
Yeah, exactly.
We don't know.
I don't know.
No.
We never know.
No. I don't... Someone opens the door to the basement.
Yes, there's
Yeah.
a dog.
What was the reasoning? They kind of weasel their way into
Tom
this.
Hanks wants to wash his hands.
Yeah,
Right?
I think he thought it was a bathroom, so he was like kind of looking for the bathroom.
Oh yeah, and he opens a door, and the
Okay.
dog is like, "No, not that door!" And all of a sudden, this huge dog comes out that Art thinks is a horse.
You keep a horse in the basement?
It's a huge. What's that? A boxer?
That was like
a Great
Great
Dane.
Dane.
Great
Yeah.
Dane. Holy shit!
It was a big fucking dog.
Yeah.
And there's a turn of events. So Ray comes out. He does find a bathroom. He cleans up a little bit. And he's like, we should just go. Let's just get together some other time. They all politely leave. And the doctor is very suspicious about this. He seems fine at first. Like, oh, I'm a doctor. Hi. I mean, clearly the audience are supposed to think something's up.
Right.
But the way Ray reacts now is like, okay, everything's just fine. That's great. Like, he has a different attitude. He doesn't seem skeptical, or especially to the Klopeks, he doesn't seem skittish. He's a
Right.
little more put together, very more directive. I'm going to leave now. It's great to meet you. Just kind of robotic.
Let's do this again.
Yeah.
And then back at his house, he's like, you know what, Carrie Fisher, you were right. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, honey. Let me just talk to the guys in the den real quick. We'll straighten this
Yeah,
out.
what kind of Leave It to Beaver shit was this?
Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine. Like, I think my neighbor's a serial killer. Hey, honey, and I tell my wife, like, I'm gonna talk to the gents in the den. We're gonna pour ourselves some scotch and talk about worldly things. Yeah, F this. But yeah, he's totally up to it. And the guys are like, "Are you serious?" Even Art's like, "Are you so pussy whipped that you can't believe like what's going on?" He's like, "Guys, I need to talk to you on the side." And it's smart too. You would think Bruce Dern can maybe keep it under wraps, but Art is clearly the wild card of the bunch. And he's like, "Dude, I didn't want them to know, but I went in the other room and I found this." And they're like, "Okay, cool. You found Walter's wig." He's like, "Yeah, I put Walter's wig back in Walter's house with that note. So why do they have his wig? What's going on?" And I found his mail there. And so they think the Knapps were the owners of the house previously. They're under the assumption the Knapps may or may not be there. They're like, "I never saw a moving van. I never saw any of that." And they're like, "Now where's Walter? His TV was on. He would never leave anywhere without his toupee. His dog was loose. He's probably dead." And they say, "What do you want to do about this, Ray?" He's like, I'll tell you what we're going to do. They said they're leaving town tomorrow during the day. While they're out of town, we're going to break in and we're going to find Walter's body.
Boom. Well, and to make all this work, one of the reasons Ray was being nice to his wife for the first time,
His wife.
my wife,
wife.
was to get her to leave the fucking house. Because the next morning he's like, no, I'm going to play golf. She's like, "You hate golf." He's like, "Well, shut up. I don't today."
It's my life.
Yeah. Yes. So she takes the kid who has 3 lines, and leave. They go fucking somewhere. No, they go to see his cousins or whatever.
His name's not Bryce.
He's like, "I hate my cousins," and Ray's like, "Yeah, me too, but shut up and leave because I don't like you or your mother."
Get a little more convincing when Art shows up in the full
Oh,
golf
yeah.
suit.
Full Art.
"Oh, you like my new putter? I don't chafe anymore because of this glove or whatever." I don't remember what he said. He was chafing earlier.
Full chafing.
Full chafing, yeah. But yeah, so now Carrie Fisher is out of the way. The son who was inconsequential is out of the way. They're free and clear to spend the day infiltrating this house.
And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have Art go up into a electric tower to cut a wire that will deactivate all maybe potential security the Klopeks have. There's clearly like a wired fence and maybe other things, because Ray does say, we could just break in. Sure.
Yeah.
They broke into Walter's.
Yeah, why not?
Pretty easy. But he's like, nah, there could be other, security that we don't know about. So we're going to take out everything. And they do. Art goes up into the tower. He cuts a wire, falls backwards into a shed, luckily. I love that he's just kind of smoking. His fingernails are just pure black.
My feelings are hot.
Good God.
Can't even imagine.
No.
This will be the closest you'll get to slapstick in this movie.
While this is happening, Ricky Butler is assembling a full-on neighborhood party.
Yeah, he's like, you guys are going to want to see this.
Yeah.
I'm going to have pizzas.
Teens are like driving up in droves. Like, what's going on? So after all the security is dismantled, we get Bruce Dern goes to his rooftop with a gun and a scope, and he is now in communique on the walkie-talkies to Art and to Ray. They're digging up the backyard, but he's also talking to Ricky the whole time because he's a neighbor. He's like, all right, bro, what's going on? He's like, paint your house, Ricky.
Tell that freak to get his foot off my lawn.
Paint your wagon, Ricky. Paint all of your wagons.
He's doing all this while drinking, I'm assuming, coffee and eating animal crackers.
Yeah, that was the mix.
He was feeling snacky.
He was a real military man.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so not a lot's happening. And I love the movie, the pacing of this. They don't really show you the drawn out boredom, like really time lapse scenes. A bunch of holes are dug up in the backyard of the Klopeks because we saw them digging before. That seemed mysterious, but they're not finding shit. They're looking for bodies. They're not finding it. And Art's like, this is way more work than we thought it was going to be. Let's go into the basement. And you could just tell Ray, Tom Hanks, has just had it. He's like, he just straight up breaks through the window and opens the door and goes in.
He tries to do the credit card thing. Doesn't work.
Well, also Art tries to pull out his credit cards, but they are now
melted.
Yeah, they're all melted, shrunk down. This is like the end of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Yeah.
Like
Got Diners Club.
yeah, a nice watch.
Yeah. Casio.
With this, even Ricky's friends are getting bored. They're like, "We're gonna go get some like quarter pounders, bro." He's like, "No, man, I ordered pizzas," and they're like, "Yeah." That's my best Donatello.
He
voice,
ordered
because he was
300
Donatello.
pizzas.
You did order 300 pizzas. Bodacious. Yeah, go for it.
No, I don't know. Yeah, they go down to the basement, and there's like a huge like Home Alone furnace down there.
Yeah, it is the furnace iron.
Yeah, like why is there a furnace this big? And to me, like that seemed like a reasonable furnace for that size house.
Yeah,
Because they're like, this house isn't that big, and that house seemed gigantic to me. But
The furnace is like half the basement.
yeah, man.
I don't know.
That furnace was insane.
Inefficient
And
furnace.
they had like crazy pipe work going through.
Yeah,
And
there
they
was a
said-
lot of pipe work.
They said like we even noticed this when we were on the upper floor, so that was kind of crazy.
Yeah, they also implied that like they had that furnace installed. Maybe like
Yeah,
it just
this is
wasn't-
like a custom job.
Like it wasn't original. I don't know. It was a dope looking furnace. It had like a face on it.
Oh yeah, it looked like it was like crafted for Thor. Like
Yeah.
it was insane.
That's where you forge like Mjolnir, or I don't know, whatever the fucking hammer is. Yeah. So they're like, okay, this is something, and they start digging.
Dig deep, bro.
they do dig deep.
Yeah, Ray is just clearly like hell bent. Like
Right.
I will find something.
Yeah, he's gonna find something, and he's like 5 feet deep in no time.
Yeah, and basically a lot of things are happening too. Like a lot of people are just coming home simultaneously. You see Walter is driving, you see Carol is driving, and the Klopeks are driving, and they almost simultaneously come out at the same time. For whatever reason, Art leaves the house while Tom Hanks is still digging. He I think he's going to talk to people. I don't really remember.
He's actually getting frustrated. He's like, we're not finding anything.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I don't really remember why he like goes out of the house.
I think he clinked metal, and then he ran out to go tell Rumsfeld.
Oh yeah, they're digging to see, and then
That's-
he's like,
yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Like, I'm gonna
Yeah, and then they say that on the walkie-talkie. Like we found Walter. We're going to be closer. So he
Yeah.
goes outside and he sees Walter actually is coming
Yeah,
home.
Walter drives up.
Yeah, so like some family members we find out are driving him home. Walter
Yeah.
gets out of a car. He does not have his toupee. He's walking inside. He's like, oh shit. So he goes in to tell Tom Hanks, like, hey man, Walter's home. But he doesn't really get that out. All of a sudden Tom Hanks is like, I hit a gas line, get the hell out of here, run.
When you also see the Klopeks roll up and then just back right out of there. And they're gone for a little bit longer.
They're rolling
Yeah.
up with cops too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do come back with cops.
Yeah. And when they see this gas, as I said, they're both running and Art fully gets out. The house fully explodes. Eventually, Tom Hanks walks out.
Yeah.
He's on fire. He's
Well,
not doing
just a little on
He's not doing well. I like the cops are talking to the Klopeks. Was this your house? Yes. And the cops don't really say anything to that. They're like, oh,
Yeah, sucks. Sucks to suck, bro.
whoops. So, you into summer jams? Drinking any shanties lately? Want to play frisbee and drink a shanty? Dip our toe in the pond?
Got some lawn darts. All the good 80s stuff. I hear there's going to be pizzas in a second, so
Oh, yeah.
that's chill.
Hell yeah, man.
A whole bunch of pizzas too.
Cowabunga.
Speaking of lawn darts, chunk of the furnace
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
was crashing down in the police car right through the engine.
Oh yeah.
Like a huge spear.
I thought that was like one of those, like the top of the roof, or like a
Oh,
weather
it totally
vane or
could have
something
been.
like
It totally
that.
could have been a weather vane.
Or one of
Yeah.
the hands of the clock tower in Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Damn, it blew all the way from where
Hill Valley.
it blew through like 4 different movies to get.
Damn right. Damn right. It did. Back in time. All the time.
Well, no one is stoked about this.
That's very true.
I mean, the brownies are gone. I already told you.
Yeah, the brownies were ruined immediately.
Sardine.
Yeah, and they're basically, the cops are basically arresting Tom Hanks.
Yeah, they're kind of bandaging him up and highlighting that he is going to go to jail then prison because
Yeah, like there's some
7
stuff.
accounts against, or 7 counts against him. And he's taking this all in stride, to be honest with you. Carol's there, like, okay, like, this isn't great. And then Art comes up. He's like, hey, buddy, and really riles him up again. He's like, I think we might get closer. He's like, dude, these people are sane. Like, are you? Oh, my God. Like, I'm going to prison. You did this to me. And Tom Hanks just freaks out. He's sitting
I'm going to the hospital.
Yeah, he's sitting in a gurney on the street. He physically picks up the gurney, throws it into the back of the ambulance, lays on it in a fetal position. I like Carol just goes, I'll just find out whatever hospital they're taking you to, and I'll just meet you there. You could tell she's put off by this. No one knows where the son is.
No, it doesn't matter.
So they shut the ambulance door, and he's gonna, I guess, go to the hospital. But Dr. Werner Klopek joins, and he's like, "Hello." He's like, Mr. Klopek, I'm so sorry. When I get out of prison, I'll help you rebuild your house. I'll do it by hand myself too. Carol's dad got me some tools. I could use those. I could use those. Like, this guy's clearly just done. This is like the full mental breakdown.
He's defeated.
And Dr. Klopek's like, you son of a bitch. You looked in the furnace. And this is insane. He did not look in the furnace.
Right.
Art,
He is admitting everything.
yeah, Art and Ray never actually opened the furnace. And Ray even says, I think a man's furnace is his own business. Or whatever. That's the one area that's off limits. And he's like, you found my skulls. I gave you my femur. But skulls, I was like, whoa, the femur's like a present? Like, cool. Like, my neighbor's a psycho killer who gives me presents.
It was
Like
a gift for the family.
Like a crow. Like, leaves me shiny things, but instead femurs. It was a gift for the family. And Tom Hanks is like, oh, shit, and fights him off. Klopeks has got a hypodermic needle that he's going to inject
Full
into
of
him.
like ecto-cooler or something.
Yeah, it's like
green
weird.
liquid.
Yeah, it looks like he cracked open like a blue glow stick and put it in there. It just didn't crack it
Yeah.
yet.
Hans is driving the ambulance poorly.
Yeah, he's like, yes. And so there's a tussle, and the tussle leads to Hans just crashing the car. Tom Hanks and the doctor are on a gurney and just go outwards the back and then jetting down a street, and they knock into Klopek's car with the gurney, and the trunk flies open. There is a blanket there, and all the cops are running. They're like, oh my God. Like, one head cop is like, dude, we told you to leave this guy alone.
Citizens arrest.
Yeah. Tom Hanks is like, citizens arrest. Like, I'm telling you, this guy's guilty. He's trying to kill me. They're like, you have no proof. There's no evidence. Like, what the hell are you talking about? And Ricky's like,
Bro.
you do now. Found it. Gotcha. Kazoongas. Ecto oucha. And he moves the blanket that is in the trunk, and gotcha indeed, because there's just a lot of bones and many skulls. And the doctor's like, whoops. And amidst everything, apparently.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it. The movie kind of comes to a conclusion here. We see that Art is like, oh my God, we did it. We finally found out everything. Clearly, everyone in the Klopeks is being arrested. Hans tries to run. Bruce Dern tackles him after saying, where are you going, Pinocchio?
He like slide tackles him.
It was Bruce Dern's moment to shine.
It was, yeah.
Mark Rumsfield. So with this, The Klopeks are arrested. The cops, the fire, everyone leaves. Mainly, they do highlight that Art's wife's home and his house is on fire. There's an ambulance in his front door, so that's going to be a fun story. He's like, you guys want to go get some drinks at the Bolorama? And Carol's like, what do you want to do, Ray? And Bruce Dern walks by. Good job, soldier. And Ray just says, I don't want to see him. Let's go to the lake. And that's kind of the end of the movie. And Carol's like, all right. But before we end here, I also want to highlight there was an alt ending. I need to kind of decompress on this because in ways, I like the alt ending a little better. So in the alt ending, they get into the ambulance and Klopek is like, hey, I'm going to help you, buddy. Like, it's all going to be okay. Like, he doesn't admit to anything. He's just like, I'm going to help you. And then just straight up tries to kill him.
Yeah.
Which I kind of like.
Yeah, I like that he didn't do the explain everything.
Yeah, like just, I'm going to slip in and try to kill you. And then there is a crash of the ambulance. And with this, the cops just, oh no, then the rest of the neighbors, Art, Bonnie, and everyone, Carol, they're all talking. They're like, oh my God, like what's going on? They open the ambulance door. They catch Klopek in the act of trying to kill Ray. The cops arrest him. He admits to everything. He's like, oh, all my skulls are in the trunk. I didn't like that part.
That's where it fell apart for me. Because
Yeah.
like, if he had been like, sorry, he blew up my house. Moment of rage. Sorry,
Yeah.
guys. He'd have been fine. But they open the door and they see him. He's like, yeah, I'm trying to kill him. He saw skulls. They're in the trunk. Here's everything that I've ever done.
Yeah.
So
I almost feel that should have been the hybrid. The trunk. I like Ricky being like, wait, whoa, bro, evidence now. Gotcha, gazungas.
yeah.
Pizza. Yeah, I
Pizza.
I like all that. So I think a hybrid should have happened. But they're also like interviewing the Klopeks, like the detectives. You find out a little bit more about these people. It's all kind of interesting. So there is some overlap that I wish that happened. Then you see, here's what I really like. Art's house is not on fire. He's asking everyone to do everything. So the new ending is Bruce Dern is going to go have sex with Bonnie. He's like, oh, we're going to do some debriefing.
Nice.
So, oh yeah, nice. Carol is pretty much thinking the same, like, let's go inside, like, let's hang out. And you feel bad for Art because he's asking everyone, you got to go to the Bolorama, get some beer? Bolorama, Bolorama, Bolorama. And everyone's like, nah. And he kind of just like kicks dirt and walks off. At the end of the movie, you do see that he's interviewed on the news, like, this is me telling you that suburbanites aren't going to take it anymore. We're not just going to paint our houses and, keep our lawns trimmed. Like, we're going to be looking out for you. And then there's a terrible pan out in the original ending of the movie of you see Earth and everyone connected and everyone's living in suburbs, etc. That was okay. It's just very dated graphics.
Yeah.
Before we get to the end of this and the year of Dante, as always, reach out to us at rabbittroopsuckspodcast@gmail.com. If there are any movies you would like us to review, if you love Joe Dante and the Burbs and just want to tell us this, or you just have some interesting things to say, let us know. Reach out to us, rabbittroopsuckspodcast@gmail.com. Hit us up at our website too, rabbittroopsucks.com. We have all of our episodes streaming there, but as always, you can listen to our episodes at YouTube, or I just use, the podcast app on my phone, or Amazon, or wherever you're listening to things.
It's YouTube, apparently. That's where people are listening.
People love YouTube. Yeah, the tubes. Thanks for listening to us on the tubes. But yeah, our website has pictures and links to merchandise and various other things. Also, you could reach us there. We're also on social media, Instagram and Facebook. And as always, thanks for telling us cool things online. What do you all think about Year of Dante and the Burbs?
Collin, go for it. This is your first time.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Collin's Burbs.
It was okay. I definitely don't think I could ever like it as much as I think you guys do.
That's fair.
I mean, there was definitely
It's
a
not
couple.
very Ricky of you.
Yeah, I know. Ricky goes along with a lot, and I normally do. I mean, I definitely chuckled a couple times, but it was like a little clunky. It was just not very funny. One of the things that this movie did really well though was a lot of like the background gags. Like I loved the Gremlin cereal.
Oh yeah.
There's like the small recurring things, like the tools that Carol's parents gave him for Christmas came up a bunch of times, and you could tell he would never ever use them. It was like the middle of summer and he hadn't touched them yet, Things like that were really funny, but overall it just kind of was a meh movie for me.
We saw some other products, not to overlap into your guys' final reviews, but Lamar, you and I saw that immediately. The old Spick and Span that they had, the old Pledge bottles. There's another cereal too that I can't
Freakies.
remember. Freakies, yeah. What the hell is that? Yeah.
A lot of good 80s products.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, they got it all in before the 80s ended because this is 89, right?
Yep. So, Collin, you're telling me, no, this is not like to go against what you're saying. Small Soldiers, yes. This movie, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like for Tom Hanks, I think I liked Volunteers better than this.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
What you thinking, Lamar?
I'm thinking this doesn't really feel like a Tom Hanks movie. Tom Hanks is in it, but the whole other cast of characters really makes the movie. It's Bruce Dern and Rick Ducommun, Corey Feldman, even though he's barely in it. The whole neighborhood just kind of, you can feel every character and how they come together in this weird plot about just life in the suburbs and how one neighbor can stir up just a whole neighborhood. And I kind of like movies like that takes place in just a small area where something is out of place and everybody comes together and what it is. And Tom Hanks plays the most normal character out of all of these people, and that's why he doesn't really stand out as much. And that's why I think it's not a Tom Hanks movie, but it's great. I love it just for the comedy and the writing in itself. Just a big fan of suburb movies like this. And going back to that alternate ending, I didn't hate it, but I preferred the original ending more. I just wanted to mention that before I ended this review. And I think the original ending suits it more. The alternate ending is nice, and I know why they didn't use it. I don't know why personally. I'm just thinking that there's some scenes that really, they make sense, but they don't really when you watch the whole movie and it ends and you're just digesting it. It doesn't feel like a good ending. But overall, I've got to say this is a great movie to sit down and watch. You can't say no to it, really. But it's not.
Collin did.
You can't say no, Collin. You can't say no. I mean, it's a pretty solid movie.
Fair. Yeah, I like this movie. It's funny, when we first got down here, I think you were still upstairs, Paul. Colin's like, how many times have you seen this movie? Because no one fucking laughed while we watched this. I mean, that's fair. I've seen this movie, I don't know, probably a half dozen times. Not like a ton. I saw it when it first came out, and I've seen, Paul, I think I've seen it with you and Lamar like 2 or 3 times.
Sure.
And probably a couple times like over the years. I don't know why I like this movie. I just do it. It just works for me.
Yeah.
Like it's not, there's no like gut laughs. It's not like last week with Hot Rod where I'm just like cry laughing when he's falling down that mountain. But like, I don't know. I just like this movie. All the characters are kind of fun to watch. It's a stupid plot, but I don't know. It's just kind of wacky. Definitely agree on the ending. I think Paul, the hybrid would have been better. My proposal for the ending is, They take the beginning of the alt ending where he does not admit to any crimes, but they should have had him and Hanks fall out of the ambulance on the gurney and knock the trunk of the car open, and that's when the discovery was made, and then he starts admitting things. That's the ending that I think they should have gone.
That's perfect.
Or it could have even been like, the doctor is caught, like the neighbors open the ambulance, are like, oh my God, he's trying to stick him with this needle. And then like Hans is in the other car, tries to drive off, drives into an ambulance. The trunk opens up. They're like, oh shit, there's a bunch of like skulls in here. Like they're all guilty. Like, yeah, it could have unfolded. Like now that I've seen the alt ending, I'm like, ooh, this could have unfolded.
There was stuff on the table they could have gone with.
Yeah, and who knows? I mean, because there was the writer's strike, maybe they were like, we can't really edit too much. This is what we got. I do very much feel that's the ending that Art should have gotten. Not that your wife's home and your house is on fire. Like, I don't wish that upon him, but it's, in the end, like, you're such like a conspiracy theorist that like you're gonna be left alone because like we have families and you're just like a crazy person.
Yeah.
And 1 out of 1,000 times you got it right, but like now there probably isn't like another satanic cult like next door.
You know, what's he gonna do with that book now?
Yeah. Well, he's got other books. I would like to see Art's library of books, especially if books on demonology are popping up.
Yeah, he probably got a few. Yeah, I don't know. He mentions it at the beginning and then at the end, like the original ending, when he's like, my wife. I don't like the whole 80s, like, I hate my wife joke line that's in so many things. Like, that just sucks. I know it was different humor, but that's stupid.
Right. And Carol seems cool as shit. Like, and so does Bonnie. Like,
yeah, everyone's chill.
Like they're helping you. They helped more of these dummies than anyone else. Like, get your wives involved with this.
Well, Bruce Dern clearly likes his wife.
Yeah, but like not when it comes to like I'm on the rooftop. Like
that's true.
Like she could have been doing other stuff. When it came to like really getting in the backyard and like this is what we found, they're like they won't understand. And so they had the den talk.
You got to have the den talk.
Yeah.
Where else do you talk?
The den.
The den.
Well, coming up next week, maybe not a super obscure film, but has everyone watched this? We'll be looking at another 1989 film. Actually, we're doing 3 1989 films in a row. The Burbs was the first. This being the biggest will be the second. We're going to look at Batman 1989, Tim Burton directed. And, you know, honestly, if it's not super obscure for you, hell, we just wanted to do it because it's a fun movie and it came out 35 years ago. And a lot of us just in this room have not watched it in ages. It's just going to give us an excuse to watch Batman, to be honest with you. But do I think a lot of people have watched Batman? I think depending on the demographic, this could go over with the overlooked films or maybe slightly I've heard, but this is underappreciated film. I would argue a lot of people, you know, they're like Christopher Nolan. That's my Batman trilogy. This is what I'm more used to.
Well, even like the Christopher Nolan Batmans are how old now?
Old.
Yeah,
like old enough.
Right.
But also, you know, you get this string of Batman films that like starts off strong. Tim Burton leaves. And then we're getting, you know, Val Kilmer. And then for the love of God, George Clooney.
Fucking Clooney with his nipple suit. Yeah, I mean, legitimately, if you're under the age of 30, like the Michael Keaton Batmans might not be your Batmans. That might not even be on your radar. I don't know. Collin always gives me shit for being fucking old, but
well, you are old.
I am, like, aside from you, the youngest person in this room. God damn it.
But Collin texts Mike like, "Hey, it's 4 a.m. You're really old."
It's like, remember yesterday when you were a day younger? Not anymore, sucker.
You old piece of shit. So I know,
TikTok, mofo.
I know, like, I do old man complaining a lot because I am old. But yeah, I mean, for younger folks, like, this might not be on your radar.
But what's crazy is this, like, there are ideas floating around that maybe Michael Keaton will reprise his role as Batman. Also, he actually did, but it was totally scrapped. He was Batman in Batwoman, but that movie was completed and then shelved, and no one's ever going to see it, but maybe one day we will. But
wait, was the movie called Batman in Batwoman?
That's a different kind of movie. That's a different podcast that we run.
And that's the Secret Dropbox podcast.
And what, didn't he reprise it in The Flash?
Oh, he might have. I don't know. Yeah, like I don't know what's going on.
I haven't seen
with
half of that shit.
Yeah, I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know what's going on with that. But like, so like for a lot of people, they're like, "What are you talking about?" Like, I live and breathe this. But honestly, again, as Mike noted, the demographic, like, if you grew up watching Christopher Nolan, are you really like, hey, you know, I'm going to watch a movie that came out when I was a kid, or I'm going to watch a movie that came out 10 years before I was born? I mean,
Right.
1989.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty well versed in the Michael Keaton Batmans, but I'm not super well versed in, like, Adam West Batman. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
because I'm not fucking that old.
And Mike usually walks around, like, if, you know, you're walking around Denver, Colorado, and you run into Mike, it wouldn't surprise me if he was just like, went up to you and was like, "I'm Batman."
Yeah.
He just says it all the time, Batman.
Batman.
Ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Yes.
Batman.
What I'm going to do later.
Bat dance. My name is Vicky Vale. I like to bat dance. Go with a smile. Bat dance. And as always, Rabbit Troop sucks.
Yeah.
It's a 9 on the attention scale.